think this is now going to be about 18 inches high, 24 inches wide, just about the same. But I'm going to have the taper here maybe not quite as inclined as it is right here. I think that looks like maybe like a 10 degree, and I'm going to set my chop saw over here for maybe like a 7 degree, so the bottom may be a little bit wider than it is now. And basically the taper is just there for, you know, in 5 or 10 years, if you want to take your bamboo out, which usually it'll outgrow the pot. You know, it's a grass, so it's going to grow pretty severely over that time. You can just kind of flip it on its side, push it out by the bottom, and it's going to come out a whole lot easier than if it was just a square box. So that's the thinking on that. And then I'm also going to line this with a 60 millimeter kind of rhizome barrier. Is going to go around the inside of it, and that's going to prevent any roots from attaching actually into the wood. And kind of every year or so you need to make sure that the roots aren't getting too invasive into the sides of it. And that's also why I'm using some cedar. This is some western red cedar that I've chosen to use because it is a lot more rot resistant than most wood. These are 8-foot 1 by 6 inch planks of western red cedar, and so I think I can make 2 pots out of these 6 planks here. And then for bracing, I'm going to use, you know, just some chunks of pressure treated wood for the bottom and maybe for the sides. And the rhizome barrier should be over that, so I don't have any worry of any sort of chemicals or anything getting into the wood there. So we'll show you how this goes. And this is not oil here, this is just some spillage from my leaves that I had in my trailer over the winter. Kind of leaked their tea onto my driveway, so we'll get those pressure washed away here soon, but we'll show you how this comes together. So I'm all done cutting up the wood here, and maybe only took me like an hour and a half, depending on what kind of tool you have. But I wanted to show you kind of the shape that it's going to be in. I think I'm going to be happier with having a bigger lower area, bottom area, just kind of a slight taper, just so there's more soil in there. And one cool thing is with those 6 8-foot planks that I had, that was all of the scrap that was left over. So very efficient if you're just doing a 2-foot planter, 2 by 2 foot planter. And so what I'd like to do next is I'm gonna kind of screw them together, and then I'll see how much of the other wood over there I need to brace it with. And then I'm gonna plan on staining it with a deck stain that I use on my deck. This is a Penofin Marine Oil. It's got a UV protectant on it. It's kind of an oil-based stain, and so it should give the wood kind of a natural finish, give it some UV protection, and also give it some water protection. But for the most part, if you have the barrier, the plastic barrier kind of wrapped around the inside of it, then it's not going to get wet too much. So right now, so far so good. Okay, so here's the finished products. It did take me most of the day, but just because this was the very first time I was building these things, but I think they turned out pretty good. You just want to choose the wood that looks the best in the front if you can. These are, I think, going to be my fronts. After I sand them and stain them, everything should look okay. But because they're cedar, they're actually pretty light. And probably be 30 pounds, 25 pounds each. This is the bracing that I chose to use. I just did a bracing in the bottom because I'm going to probably end up putting some mesh across the bottom with some sort of landscape fabric, just so the water runs through the bottom and air can get up. I'm not gonna cover up the bottom like I am with the sides. I'm sure if you guys are professional woodworkers, you could probably not do as many holes as I did here on the side. And you could probably come from the inside, but my logic is to not let great get in the way of good. And so these are just good enough for me right now. I didn't end up using this other piece of pressure treated lumber. I just went with these two braces right here. I'm thinking maybe if it warps at all in the future, I may put another brace over on that side and the other sides. But these things are so small right now that I don't think that is necessary. So my next step is to stain them and then get the rhizome barrier and staple it in, fill them up with dirt, and throw some bamboo in them. So that's how we're doing. Later.